All right, TBD podcast. Today we have Chris Cavallini, Nutrition Solutions. Chris, how you doing, man?
What's up, brother?
Thanks for doing the show. I appreciate it. So we
you
were
for
just talking
having me.
about working out, morning versus night, all that sort of stuff. There was a time in my life when I would wake up, get a bunch of work done computer-wise, then go try to work out at like 8 a.m., 8:39, and I would start getting phone calls, and I was like, God damn it. Like, I can't do this. It's either, for me in my life, it has to be upon rising, very early morning, before the world wakes up, or evening. But now I have an 8-month-old kid, and that's almost off the table too. So for me, it's always going to be morning. But you were explaining how it's beneficial in the morning because it releases mood enhancers in your brain.
Yeah, I mean, look, get it in when you can, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter when you get it in. What matters is the fact that you do get it in. But if you have the option, if you have the ability to work out in the morning or in the evening, I think the most bang for your buck is going to come from those morning workouts because you're going to get yourself in an elevated state of consciousness that you then now can basically execute the rest of the day's tasks from that place.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
there's a momentum to it. After you leave the gym, you're in this high state, and then
Yeah.
you feel like you can tackle any task.
Yeah, exactly. You get up in the morning, you crush a workout, eat a clean breakfast, you're stacking wins in the morning, creating momentum that is going to create more momentum for more wins throughout the day.
Have you always worked out? Has that always been a part of your life? I mean, since in high school, sports?
Yeah, since the 9th grade. So I've been over 25 years, been doing this for quite some time. Really started paying closer attention to nutrition and how I'm fueling my body. I started paying attention about 10 years ago, but throughout the course of time, as my knowledge has expanded and I've learned more and just throughout the process of trial and error, really got it dialed in over the last 3 to 4 years. I mean, I'm 41 now and I'm in the best shape of my life.
That's awesome, man. And so kind of back at the beginning, what sports did you play in high school in 9th grade that you were working out?
Yeah, I've wrestled and played football.
Yeah, so two strength-focused sports.
Exactly.
Man, that's awesome. And you said that you're from Boston. So after Boston, so you immediately joined the military after high school?
So that's an interesting story. So I was arrested 17 times before my 18th birthday. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
I've heard, but I don't know the exact details.
Yeah, so I was arrested 17 times before my 18th birthday, and eventually the state of Massachusetts gave me an ultimatum, which was to either go to jail or join the military. So as much as I would love to sit here and tell you that from a very young age, as a boy, it was always a dream of mine to one day honorably serve my country. That's not the way it materialized with me, but the military, not only changed my life, an argument can be made that it saved it. I was just on a path at that point in time that, the nature of the crimes that I was committing and things I was getting in trouble for were continuing to escalate. So getting me out of that environment was a power move. I mean, at the time, I don't think I appreciated it as much. I very much looked at myself as a victim at that point. But the military really, like I said, it changed my life in so many ways, taught me how to be disciplined, taught me the importance of paying attention to the details, taught me the importance of having high standards, right? How to operate within a team. And obviously it helped me understand how important winning is.
Did they give you a choice of which branch and what you would be doing? Or did they just say, you got to join something?
Yeah. So that's a good question. I think I just said I had to join something. I think I talked to the Marines, then I talked to the Navy, and I was attracted to the Navy because there was a community, the Navy diving community. My recruiter kind of hyped that up and said that there's a couple things that he told me about it, but the thing that was the most appealing was Navy divers don't have to wear the regular uniform. They're on the boats, they're wearing shorts, T-shirts, or shirts off. So I'm like, man, that sounds perfect for me.
Yeah.
And, it's true. And we didn't wear the traditional military uniforms very much. But the community was amazing. I mean, to this day, it's certainly one of the most significant accomplishments of my life. To that point, absolutely, it was the most significant accomplishment of my life. I mean, to give you a little context, I told you I was arrested 17 times before my 18th birthday. My mother had me at 16. She was a drug addict. Father took off before I was even born. So I spent time in foster homes, group homes, juvenile detention centers, and jail cells. I said I was arrested 17 times for my 18th birthday. I've been arrested another half a dozen times after that. I have multiple felonies on my record. The majority of my 20s, I was a drug dealer. So, I mean, we can go into all of that.
Yeah.
But we're all over the board here.
Holy shit. Yeah. So going into the military probably obviously took all that shit away. Did you feel like you had a second chance at the time? I mean, 18-year-old kids are typically pretty hard-headed. I know I was. So did you take that for granted, or did you realize at the time, like, okay, I got to get my shit together?
Yeah, I think I had some level of awareness of the fact that I needed to get it together, especially in the community that I was in. So the Navy diving community it's an elite community. 70% of the people who start the training do not complete it. There's a 70% attrition rate. It's very difficult training, physically, mentally, academically. I was exposed to a lot of adversity early on, just being in and out of foster homes, group homes, the abuse that I was subjected to. I was subjected to abuse from a very, very young age, which I actually consider myself very fortunate for, because the trauma, the adversity, the hardship that I was dealing with from a very young age, it eventually equipped me with skills and tools that allowed me to go on to do things with my life that are considered to be statistically impossible. So it's one of those things where at the time you don't realize that things are different, right? Because that's just how life is.
Right.
So as time went on, I started to realize some things, and one of those things was the fact that I could take a little more punishment than the average person, and that served me well in dive school.
Yeah.
It served me well in dive school because I had a little bit of an attitude, and that's not optimal when you're going through specialized military training. But I had the ability to suffer longer than most people, and that allowed me to make it through dive school. Now,
right.
When I got to my first dive command, I was the youngest guy there by about 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and the entire 5 years I was there, I was the youngest guy. So I was around a bunch of guys who were more established, more well-rounded, just guys that had their shit together. And when I got there, I did not. But of course, you couldn't tell me that. But, back then, my head was up my ass, and they put their foot in my ass when needed. And if I'm being honest, it was needed a lot back then.
Yeah.
But these guys helped me grow up very, very quickly. They saw something in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself. And I was proud to be a Navy diver.
Right.
And that was a feeling that I was not familiar with and hadn't been familiar with to that point in my life. So when you get up every day and you have a purpose and you have a mission and you have something that you're actually proud of, it changes your entire perspective on the world. So I started to really start to like the person that I was becoming. Because if I'm being honest, the majority of my life, I didn't like the person who I was. I was always angry. I was always pissed off. I mean, obviously I'm getting in trouble that much. You don't,
right.
If that is happening, that's normally indicative of behavioral problems.
Exactly.
And, a lot of different things going on at that point in time. But, looking back on it, I wasn't aware of this at the time, but obviously what I was doing is I was just looking for significance. Right. I was trying to do something to make myself significant. And that's the thing. Human beings have this biological need to obtain significance. And some people go about it in very inspiring, positive, healthy ways. And others do it the way that I did.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to be a part of a community, and it sounds like you just found yourself wrapped up in the wrong community. I mean, I'm sure your friends were doing the same bullshit you were.
Yeah. Let's make no mistake about it. My friends absolutely were getting in trouble. However, I was the worst amongst my peer group.
Oh,
so
no.
I cannot use that. Yeah, I cannot responsibly use that as an excuse. I was around the wrong people, whatever. I was the wrong person. I was the wrong person. So yeah, I was.
You were the guy mama told you about, like, hey, don't go around that kid. He's trouble.
I was absolutely somebody that my friends' parents were a little cautious of.
Yeah, right.
You know, but I think, you know, also they kind of recognized why I was that way. They knew my home situation, and just my childhood wasn't, you know, ordinary. And, you know, I was very fortunate to actually have some good friends of mine, families, parents that looked out for me and gave me a little bit of, you know, mentorship and just treated me like they treated their kids, which was helpful because I didn't have that. I didn't have a father growing up. Right. And that's a big deal for a man.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, being able to have some friends of mine whose families really looked out for me was huge for me. And I think that, you know, potentially could have saved me from going off the deep end completely.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a little bit of light in that dark childhood.
There was in my high school years, especially, there was intermittent periods of light and intermittent periods of hope. And, you know, the thing is, I had to get out of the environment that I was in. That environment was making me sick. And
sounds like the judge saved your life.
yeah,
really.
saved my life. I mean, at the time, I thought that it was unfair and unjust.
Right.
You know, I looked at myself as a victim, but, you know, good on the state of Massachusetts for giving me that ultimatum and giving me that opportunity, because you know, the military, like I said, not only taught me so many amazing qualities that helped me evolve and helped me become the person I am today. But the thing that I think was the most valuable was it got me out of my hometown. It got me out of my old patterns and old just kind of ways of doing
Away from all the
things.
people, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you're around a completely new set of people that have joined the military for all different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, who you're around, I mean, influences your mindset. It dictates your standards. The people in your life are objectively either making your life better or making your life worse. And I think most people understand this to a certain degree. Unfortunately, they still continue to hang out with fucking losers, which doesn't necessarily make sense. But we all know and have seen, if we look back in time and think about periods of our life where things were going really good, there's always patterns there. There's always patterns and common denominators of just that give you an indication of things that you were doing that were allowing this positive result to materialize. And, you know, back then I was very fortunate, like I said, to be in that community because I was around a bunch of guys who were better than me.
Yeah.
I was around a bunch of guys who were better than me.
Older and wiser and more
Correct.
perspective.
Yeah.
Because I'm not exactly familiar with what a Navy diver is. Is there a combat component to that, or is it more like welding and doing engineering and stuff like that underwater?
It's all of the above.
Oh,
all of the
interesting.
above, depending on the commands that you're stationed in. There's different commands.
Sounds fun for a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it was a really, really cool job.
You probably got to travel and learn and.
Yeah, I got to do some cool shit.
Yeah.
I got to do some cool shit, and I got to work with some really cool people who, you know, this is when I got out in 2006. You know, here we are, 2024, and I still have guys that I keep in touch with that I was in the military with.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you transition from military to nutrition solutions? Is that sounds like what, maybe 10 or 15 years? What made you decide to get out of the military, first of all?
So yeah, that's a great question, because the military was amazing for me. I enjoyed the military. I enjoyed the person that I was in the military. I took a great deal of pride in the job that I had and the people that I was around. When my enlistment was about to come to an end, I was given an opportunity to re-enlist, and they at the time they were offering divers $60,000 for a re-enlistment bonus, which $60,000 at that time is probably like, I don't know, 6 million today.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it was an incredible amount of money for me at that time. Maybe I had $2,000 to my name back then, but I declined it because had I re-enlisted, I would have had to leave Jacksonville, Florida, where I was stationed. And I developed this massively positive association with this city and this environment and this version of me that had kind of materialized as a result of that environment. And I thought that, if I get moved somewhere else, I just didn't, the fear and the possibility of regressing and going backwards and going back to, just feeling as good as I had gotten accustomed to. It was just too overwhelming and too just daunting of a thought to even consider. So I decided to get out of the military, failing to recognize that it was the actual military that gave me that purpose, that mission, that pride. And
it was not Jacksonville, Florida.
No, it wasn't. It was the people I was around. It was the military. It was my purpose. It was my mission. So I basically, got out on Tuesday and on a Wednesday lost all my structure, right? The military, where to be, when to be there, what uniform to be wearing. You're constantly being trained. Everything is just a well-oiled machine. It's just so systematic. And it basically, the way the military's structure is set up is it essentially forces whatever outcome that you're looking to get. And it's awesome. And I, as a young kid, I just simply wasn't conscious of that until I was no longer in that environment.
Wow.
Yeah. 2 months after I was out of the military, found myself working in a strip club. The thought process behind that was, quite simple. First of all, I was pretty excited about the fact that they were actually going to pay me to be in an environment where I get to look at beautiful naked women all night. Yeah. Second thing was I'd be getting paid cash under the table. And the reason that was important is the military has great education benefits for service members. And I was always a hustler, right? I didn't care about school and continuing my education. I certainly didn't care about community college. But I learned that if you took a full-time college schedule, which the criteria was for full-time was 2 online classes counted as a full-time schedule. So if I was able to do, if I did 2 full-time, 2 online classes, that they would pay me $2,000 a month. Now, the only caveat to that is you can't have a job. So I needed to get a job that I was paid under the table, which is where the strip club came into play.
Got it.
And that wasn't a strong move for me. Somebody who was prone to violence and just angry and insecure, I just regressed quickly. I'm in an environment with a bunch of degenerates, right? Yeah. Everybody's drinking,
drugs,
drunk,
and shit. Yeah.
All of it. And, so getting in fights all the time with the customers, messing with the girls. At that time, I'm not going to lie, like I kind of like the drama, right? Like at any given time, at any given shift, there's probably 6 or 7 girls that I'm having concurrent relations with. So of course that's going to be just a bunch of drama all the time. But at that point in my life, that's just kind of how I was living my life.
Right. Did you stay in Jacksonville during this time?
Yeah, I was in Jacksonville.
So you thought staying in Jacksonville was in a way the saving grace. Like you didn't want this version of yourself that you've built in the military to slip away.
It took about probably a year and a half after I got out of the military to realize, okay, it's not Jacksonville. It was the military.
A year and a half down the wrong path is kind of a long time. Too.
Yeah. 6 months, 6 months after I got out of the military, I'm working in the strip club and I am just stressed out all the time. Every time that it's time to go into work, I'm just stressed. Yeah. And, I was drinking at work to make it a bit more tolerable. And then you're drinking at work, so you're more aggressive with the customers. And again, back then, like I didn't care about that. I actually enjoyed that element of it.
Yeah.
But it was still stressful. I enjoyed it when it was happening, but it was still stressful.
Just getting in fights and shit like that, kicking people out, whatever.
So I worked, one of the clubs I worked at was an outlaw owned establishment, the motorcycle club, the Outlaws, and they had a very particular method of wanting to send messages to people who got out of line or people who were unruly. So that, you know, wasn't optimal for somebody who had the tendencies that I had growing up. I mean, I got in a lot of trouble for fighting and violence.
What
and
part of
assault
Boston?
with a dangerous weapon and all kinds of shit that, you know, we can talk about at length. But just eventually I got to a point in the strip club where I just decided, I'm like, fuck, I cannot do this anymore.
Yeah.
I absolutely cannot do this anymore. This is not for me. This is sucking the life out of me. I do not like the person that I'm regressing back into. So naturally, I continued to do it for another year and a half just to make it official. And then I decided one day to quit. And that's when I started my full-time transition into being a drug dealer.
Oh no. So down a deeper, darker path.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
What part of Boston are you from?
My ascension wasn't, I mean, it wasn't linear, right?
Yeah.
It absolutely wasn't. There was many points where, you know, I was up and down. But if I'm being honest and just looking back on everything that happened, I wouldn't change a fucking thing.
Well, yeah, because you've gotten to where you've gotten, right? I mean, you are where you are, and you've learned what you've learned.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a multimillionaire. I have an 8-figure company. I have an amazing team. I'm surrounded by people who respect me and love me and help me win. I have an absolutely fantastic life, and I think that a lot of the experiences that I've been through that were less than fantastic, I think have just given me a solid perspective.
Yeah.
And understanding how fortunate I am to be in the position that I am today. And I think that, you know, in life, when we go through really hard things, sometimes it's tough in the moment to recognize this, but I do believe that the worst thing to ever happen to you is the best thing to ever happen to you, provided you are of that mindset, right? Provided you are a growth-oriented individual, provided you're somebody who is consciously looking to extrapolate whatever lesson, whatever perspective, whatever service could come out of that situation. There's always opportunity that comes out of really bad situations. And, you know, again, like for me, growing my business, anybody who's growing a business, it's difficult. It's incredibly difficult. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing when I started. If I'm being honest, I still don't know what I'm doing, but I just have a bit more confidence now that I'll figure it out as I go along, like I always have. But being able to kind of persevere through some of the things that I have and experience the adversity that I did early on, it hardened you up a little bit.
Hell yeah.
You know?
So how did you go from dealing whatever you were dealing to selling?
Yeah, I was dealing
food?
Steroids,
Steroids?
steroids. Yeah, for 7-8 years.
And this was what, 2010 something?
2000. If I got out 2000s, so probably 2006 to 2012.
How did that end up? Did you get in trouble again?
So I was a full-time drug dealer. I did not have a regular job. I was out 6-7 nights a week, partying, bottle service. I had 2 vehicles. I had a fluorescent orange Lamborghini and a fluorescent green H2 Hummer. Okay. I was a fucking fool. Like looking back on it, it's almost like an impressive lack of self-awareness. Like I might as well just had a sign on the side of my vehicles that said, "Come arrest me."
Right.
Right. But I was just so stupid.
I mean, are you still doing the college thing with the military at this point?
No.
You said fuck that.
Hell, why? What was the point? I mean, I'm making all this cash. I'd do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Right. I sleep till 11 or 12. Fucking go work out. Come home, take a nap, and go out and party. And I recognized. I mean, part of the reason why I went out so much back then, other than the fact that I was young and I loved it,
Right.
was that I realized early on that when I went to the club, I'd always be with chicks because I always had money, right? I always had money, so I'd always get bottles and tables and things like that. So easy to have chicks when that's the case. And I kind of worked it out in my mind that when I would go into the club with this group of chicks that I would get a lot of attention. Like the guys, I'd get a lot of attention from the guys. Well, the girls would get a lot of attention, right? But the guys would want to come talk to me,
Right.
to
Who's
see what's
this
going
guy?
on,
Yeah.
right? And meet the chicks and kind of learn a little bit of what I had going on. And that quickly became my customer acquisition method. You know, I was meeting a lot of people out in nightlife who, you know, saw me, saw the lifestyle that I was
They're trying to
living.
get juiced up. They're trying to get the girls.
They're trying to literally get juiced up.
Yeah, 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 literally.
So
you made a bunch of money. You bought a Lamborghini and a Hummer truck.
yeah, and then listen,
So
I didn't have I couldn't afford those vehicles. I think this is an important point. Like I was making a lot of cash, but I was spending it quicker than it was coming in. I mean, I've always said this. I've always been good at making money. I would say I'm pretty great at spending it. I've never been good at managing it. I'd never been good at managing it, you know, to that point. And I was like, my whole life was just a facade, right? I was trying to make it look like I was doing a lot better than I was, that I was more successful than I was, that I was happier than I was, that I was more fulfilled than I was, because really what I was doing is I was attempting to overcompensate for some deep-rooted neurotic insecurity. Now, of course, I'm not aware of that at the time, but I am aware that when I'm home by myself or I'm alone with my own thoughts, I didn't really like the way that I felt.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's another reason why I probably was out so much drinking and partying.
Yeah, you avoided that alone time and you were just out drinking and kind of numbing whatever those thoughts would have been.
Yeah.
Damn, dude. So how did you transfer from being, you know, a very disciplined person with a regimented schedule in the military, kind of a great life? Like it sounds like you were very happy then. Then you get out, you get in the strip club, you start fucking around, you start selling steroids.
Yeah.
You're making a little cash, zero discipline, it sounds like, just fucking around all day.
Yeah. I mean, I still worked out, fortunately. I still worked out.
That's a part of your product advertising though, right?
Correct. That's exactly right. Part of the business model. So, you know, during that time, I started to, you know, in the club, started meeting some people that were successful, you know, statistically successful, and started to cultivate relationships with them, and just started to kind of look at what they had going on. And I guess developed an awareness, the fact that, you know, it's possible to actually do well financially and do something you're actually proud of. And I just started to kind of recognize that there's people out there that had things that I didn't have, and it didn't seem like there was anything really remarkable about them, and it just made me kind of curious.
Interesting. So the other guys that were buying tables, like literally you would look at them and be like, what do you do, bro? And he's like, oh, I'm whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you don't have to deal steroids to buy a table at the club.
Yeah, exactly. And I also, you know, very much liked the idea. My whole life was a lie. I lived a lie for a lot of years. And when you get so wrapped up in that place of lies and deception, it sucks the life out of you. And I was getting just more and more just depressed about this existence that I was living that was fake. You know, when you meet somebody for the first time, I mean, what's one of the first things that you ask? Or
Yeah, what do you do?
yeah, what do you do exactly? So I had a cover story that I would give, and I just got sick of living a lie, and I wanted to try to figure out maybe how I could get to a point where I could actually do something. I know this might sound crazy, that I could be proud of.
Right.
And you know, I just had no idea what that was, and this was a thought that kind of popped in my head. I would say probably about 4 years in. Right. But I didn't take any action on it. Just kind of had the awareness, whatever, kept on being a degenerate, kept on doing what I was doing. But the turning point was there was a investigation that was initiated. The DEA assembled the joint task force with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, and they basically targeted me and my group of friends. So at the time, all my friends are drug dealers. Drug dealers hang out with other drug dealers. And people started to get their doors kicked in and hauled off to prison. Now, the part about that that was the deterrent for me wasn't the idea of going to prison and, wow, I get a change or go to prison. The thought of going to prison, I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a hard ass here, but it didn't scare me. That wasn't what I was concerned about. It was the thought of going backwards. It was the thought of going back to being in a position that I was very familiar with the majority of my life coming up, where I didn't feel like I was in control. Like I didn't feel like I was proud.
Yeah.
Right? And I didn't want to be looked down upon. I mean, when I was growing up, I mean, I remember periods of time where I would have to steal dirty clothes out of the lost and found at school just so I had new clothes to wear. So I didn't want to go back to being that, so I started to get really obsessed about what would happen or what was going to happen if I didn't start making some changes. And the thing that really kind of pushed me, and I should have said this at the beginning, when people started to get in trouble, the quote unquote friends of mine, it was stunning to me. These guys, hard asses, tough guys, whatever, all started snitching on each other. Everybody started snitching on each other. And that made me completely sick to my fucking stomach. I came from a community that was revolved around honor. The Navy diving community, there's actually a movie about it called Men of Honor. Honor is prioritized to the absolute highest extent with everything you do in that world. And although the guys that, I work with, we didn't always all get along. If we had an issue, there was ways that we would resolve it, but we always had each other's backs. We always had each other's backs, and we always took care of each other, because in a life or death situation, you have to know that the guy to your left or to your right is going to be there if, that worst case scenario materializes. Right. So having this, awareness now that I'm in this new community where there's no honor, and these people clearly have absolutely no issue destroying somebody else's life, destroying somebody's family's life because they are not man enough to be held accountable for their actions. It was sickening to me. And I guess I started to think about how I was viewing them, and then it just kind of dawned on me, wow, that's probably how people view me. And I wanted people to be proud of me.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, we all do. I think
we all do. Yeah.
Yeah. People often talk about chasing happiness, and I don't think happiness is a good metric to chase. I think being proud, I think that's where the magic happens.
Did you have old teammates who are still in the Navy reach out and be like, Chris, what are you doing, bro? Like,
yeah.
Why are you hanging around these douchebags?
Yeah. There was a couple guys, but for the most part, I kept that life. I didn't make them aware of that. I told you I had a cover story. Right. So they thought I was doing something else, and they thought I was successful with this business that.
So in your heart, you kind of knew it was wrong.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I knew it was wrong. I was a fucking fraud. I was a walking lie.
Yeah.
And it just got so stressful to the point where I just realized I needed to make some changes. And making a long story short, I went to somebody who I respected and basically put my cards on the table. I told them what was going on, told them what I've been doing, and said that I've gotten to a point where I'm just fed up and I'm disgusted. I'm ready to draw a line in the sand, and I'm ready to change, and I'm ready to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes. But I had no idea where to start. And I just asked him if he could point me in the right direction, and he gave me 2 pieces of advice that changed my life. And still does to this day.
Wow.
He said first that I needed to start surrounding myself with people who were better than me. And he said that I needed to start spending every waking moment working on my personal development. He basically called me out. It's like, look, you have a victim mindset. I've just listened to you explain to me your situation. You're talking about, all the times you're arrested and the foster homes and your mom was a drug addict and your dad wasn't around and all these things. And he's like, while all those things are true, they are not justifiable excuses for you to not live a purposeful existence. And he's like, you have a victim mindset, and you got to fix that. And the way that you're going to fix that is you're going to read every book related to being a better human being. And he gave me a couple recommendations. The first book I ever read was Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And that's basically, what the way he got it to click with me. He's basically said that. He's like, look, you're reading the books. The personal development is to the mind what the gym is to your body. He's like, your body is strong, but your mind is weak. And he's like, we need to fix that. And I respected this dude. And at that point I was desperate. So I got to work, man. And I started to, the first thing, surrounding myself with people who were better than me. Well, obviously I was a low value man at that point. High value people do not want to hang out with low value people. Well, why would they? They bring absolutely nothing to the fucking table. So what I first started to do is I just started to separate myself from all the losers that I was hanging around with, all the people who were not on the same path, all the people that I didn't think were good influences. I started creating a little bit of distance and started to go to some networking events and lounges and fancy restaurants. And I would go by myself because I didn't have any other like successful peers or anybody who was on the same path. And I just kind of went in and started observing. I started observing what people, just how they operated, how they spoke, how they interacted with each other. And I was just trying to look for clues, right? I was just trying to get myself in the environment and, eventually striking up some conversations with people. I realized that there was a common denominator between pretty much all of the successful people that I was rubbing shoulders with in these environments. And that was the fact that none of them were out of shape. And not only were none of them out of shape, most of them were in really good shape. And after, talking to them and asking them kind of, how did you get where you are today? And, obviously many people, different professions, different careers, different paths, but all of them prioritized working out and eating good. Yeah. And at that point in my life, I was in good shape, but I didn't eat good because I didn't really understand nutrition. When you're young, you can eat whatever you want. And, I was taking gear. So obviously I looked great. But I realized that I had an opportunity to step things up with my fitness because I didn't understand nutrition. I wasn't eating good. And I started to also realize that I was getting positively reinforced, and people would come up to me and introduce themselves to me because I was in good shape. And this was a big deal for me because I then developed a positive association between being in good shape and connecting with new people and, exploring new opportunities and things like that. So I basically just started to come up with a plan. I needed to figure out, all right, well, I need to eat good, but I don't want to cook. I don't know how to cook. I don't have the time to cook. I don't have the desire to learn to cook. So what can I do here? And I basically came up with this idea where I talked to like 8 or 9 of my friends, and I'm like, hey, if I can find somebody to meal prep for us, to cook us like high protein meals that will help us get in better shape, like, would you guys do it? And like, yeah, fuck yeah. And this is, 2011, right? Where these companies they weren't on the mainstream. And there was a handful of them, but certainly nowhere near the abundance that there is now. And I basically went to a local catering company and asked them if they would be willing to prepare X amount of meals for me and my friends. And I would basically buy them for X and then flip them for Y. And at the beginning, I wasn't making any money. I was able to pay for my food, which was all I really wanted at that point. And honestly, that's how the whole thing started, man. And
that's fucking crazy.
It is. There was no intention. I've never written a business plan. I didn't plan on, eventually being in the position that we are today. But everything happens for a reason, and I'm glad that it did because I love what I do. I have a very unique company. I mean, our mission is to help people get in the best shape of their life with no stress. And when people get in physical shape, it transforms not just their physical body, but their entire emotional state. It transforms who they are to the core, and we've seen some just amazing amazing transformations. And every week we're hearing stories from clients who have had their life impacted. So it's a lot of stress. There's a lot of competition. I mean, we're the best out there. I will say that confidently. And anybody who's ever tried our product and tried any of the other competitors, you can validate that. We're not the best by accident. We're the best because we put in a tremendous amount of effort and purposeful intent to be the best. And when I say be the best food, the best service, the best branding, the best culture, the best of the best. And that's kind of really, I think, an important point, whether it's with my business or, anything else that I do. I developed a rule. Like if I'm going to do something, I'm going to be the best at it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. It's not worth my time. It's not worth my energy. Life is too short to be anything but the best version of you. And I think it's a complete disservice to God to be anything less than what you're capable of.
And you definitely let your employees know that too,
Of course.
Which I think is awesome. And I do want to dig into nutrition solutions, and we'll talk about that in a second. I just want to go back and touch on something you said about when you were in these restaurants and in these clubs observing people that you perceived to be a success. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you really didn't mention money, right? Like the definition of success is not just, well, that guy has a lot of money.
Correct.
What if he's a fat slob and cheats on his wife and is horrible to his children? Is he still a success just because he has money? Absolutely not. So it sounds like you recognize that really before even knowing the truth about it. Like what I'm saying is when you're in that environment, looking at these people, you're looking at different markers and measurements of how you determine success.
Correct.
At that time, what did that mean for you? It's not just money, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just people who just seemed confident and happy, happy and enjoying themselves.
And they did have the wealth.
Around people that genuinely enjoyed their company, not just people who were around them because they were taking care of the bottle service, things like that.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it was a combination of things, but it was really important for me to be in those environments because it made me realize, like, all right, like this can happen. This is happening for a lot of people. And again, the people that I was meeting, and certainly some were more successful than others, but I don't ever remember feeling like, wow, these people are just extraordinary or remarkable, and these people have all these things that I do not. So it just kind of helped me realize that. And then hearing some of their backstories, where they started from, and a lot of successful people, people think often, I mean, people who are not successful think that those who are successful just woke up one morning and were magically on the top of the mountain. And it doesn't work like that. So when I was talking to all, those people during that time, I started to realize that a lot of them had stories where they just came from a very average circumstances. And that gave me hope.
Yeah. Yeah, the first person I met in my life that I really perceived as a true success was an ex-girlfriend's father. And growing up, my father and my grandfather were politicians. My dad was a judge. My grandfather was the mayor here. They were all about public service. And they're great, nice men, but unfortunately, I think because of their work and because of their priorities in their life, they didn't focus on their wife and their children.
Got it.
And there's issues in my family because of that today. My dad left and my parents were divorced when I was 5 years old. I was basically raised by a single mother, and never really had an uncle that I perceived successful. Again, didn't have the father or grandfather. I didn't want to emulate those men. I really wanted to be the business owner, the money, the trips, the big family, the great relationship with a woman, and a great relationship with my children. And so when I met this guy, he had it all. I mean, his children loved him. He had an amazing business. He was making a ton of money, but he wasn't a dickhead about it. Yeah, generous, whatever you want, bring your friends. There was just this light air, this like easy way about this guy. And so that was the first time I realized, whoa, like success is not just the dude with the orange Lambo.
No,
right?
no.
Success is so much deeper than
Well,
that.
at the time when I had that Lambo, and I should have mentioned this earlier, it's actually an interesting story. My Lambo payment was more than the townhome I lived in at the time. And not only that, I didn't have a garage. For anybody who doesn't know, you do not have exotic cars and not keep them in a garage.
Right.
But I was living in a townhome that probably cost $75,000 and driving a $100,000 vehicle at the time. Absolutely ridiculous. My priorities were completely backwards. But again, I was doing that because I was trying to create this facade. I was trying to present myself as being somebody that I was not. But
yeah, exactly. You probably wanted to be perceived as successful.
Exactly.
Wow, look at Chris. He's killing it. He's got the bottle service and the girls and the Lambo and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, my mother set a pretty good example for me growing up as far as what I never wanted to be. She didn't raise me. There was short periods of time in the early years where she was given custody of me, and then eventually I was taken again. But, my mom, just seeing the way that she lived her life, I didn't want to be like that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be like that. I didn't want people talking about me the way people talked about my mother. And I just kind of developed an awareness that, like, okay, like there are people out here that are making things happen, and I need to try to figure out whatever they know so I can get a little bit of that myself.
Yeah. Yeah. As I've grown older, I'm turning 32 in June, and I think it starts off as resentment. For me, it was like resenting my father a little bit, and we have issues and all that, but I think you realize, what, the value that people in your life that are negative do provide is an example of what not to do and how not to live your life. And sometimes that's just as powerful as a good example and a mentor. So for me, having that experience, I understand the path not to go down, just in terms of family and business and all that sort of stuff.
I agree. And not only that, to add to that point, something that really helped me drop the victim mindset, because you mentioned your father. So I'd never met my father, right? He left when my mother was pregnant. But for whatever reason, I had developed daddy issues. I had anger and hostility and resentment towards this man that it was just always there, right? Whether I was conscious of it, sometimes I was conscious of it, but it was always there. And when I started my personal development journey, I would say, maybe like 6 months in, I had a just extraordinary realization. And that was the fact that this resentment, this hostility, this hatred that I had towards this man was fake. It wasn't real. How could I hate somebody who was never there?
Right.
He was never there. I never saw him. I never even saw a picture of him. And what I realized is the reason that I had those feelings and was harboring that resentment was because throughout my lifetime, my mother was programming me to think that way because of how she was feeling. And this was an important breakthrough for me, because when I realized that, and I realized, holy shit, that thought that excuse, that thing that I've been, using as a crutch to justify being a fucking nobody, it's not true. And it made me just start to question all of my own beliefs and thoughts and analyze my own behavior and just try to determine if the things that I actually believed were actually my beliefs or things that were programmed by people living lives that I don't fucking want to live.
Right.
And that was an important realization for me, because it allowed me to drop the victim mindset, because if you have a victim mindset, a victim mindset will kill your dreams and happiness.
Yeah.
Objectively. And here's the truth, man. I would say that the majority of people, especially in the West, have a victim mindset. Now, there's one thing that everybody who has a victim mindset has in common, just one thing. They're unaware of the fact they have a victim mindset.
Exactly.
I was unaware of the fact that I had a victim mindset until somebody literally sat me down and explained it to me. But, you know, a victim everything is always somebody else's fault.
Yeah,
right?
you're a victim by choice in a way.
Anytime
you choose that mentality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, at the end of the day, I could have very easily used the circumstances that I was subjected to growing up, right? The abuse, the instability, right? The lack of family, right? Being in juvenile detention centers and group homes and jail cells as many times. I could have used all of those things as an excuse, a tangible excuse to be a failure in every human metric possible for the rest of time. I could have done that because all those things are true. But I don't really see there to be any value in that. Instead of using it as the reason why I can't do this and can't do that, I decided to make a paradigm shift. And I started to tell myself, well, look, because I've been through all this, this is why I have to. I have to set an example for people who come from circumstances like I do, people who come from worse than I do. And I have to show them, somebody has to show them what's possible for people like them if you just decide to draw a line in the sand and raise your standards and create a new identity. I think that's what it comes down to. They say, certain people will tell you, well, people don't change. There's research that says people don't change. Most people don't change, but that's why most people are most people. And I think that the only way to change is to raise your standards. And when you raise your standards, you're not creating new habits necessarily. You're creating a new identity. You're showing up as the person that you aspire to be, and you emulate the qualities of that person. Call it fake it till you make it, whatever. But that's what I've learned throughout my life's journey is the primary catalyst to actually seeing change through successfully is changing your identity and focusing on being the person that you aspire to be, showing up as that person right now and letting the universe do what it does.
It's probably paramount, right? Extremely important when you decided to make that change in your life and prioritize everything we're talking about. But now, how many people do you have at your company working for you? How many employees do you have?
I think we have 50 on the operations side, and there's 6 in marketing, 4 in the finance team. We got a pretty big team.
60 or so people.
Roughly, yeah.
Now, how are you? You know, you're a very inspiring person because obviously you've came from, I'll just say, like the gutter, you know, and now you've achieved this awesome level of success. And like we said, it's not just the money, it's your mindset, it's the way you live your life, it's your discipline, it's the way you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
How do you cut through the weeds with some of the people? I mean, we're hiring from this broken planet. Everyone has their own origin story and their own problems.
Yep.
Do you not let people come in with certain backgrounds, or are you accepting of everyone, but then they have to prove themselves? How do you hire?
So company culture is the most important thing as it relates to any business. And if you actually have a company culture, a lot of companies would like to think that they have a culture, but they do not have, like corporations. Corporate culture that's not culture. That's modern day slavery, right? So there's a huge distinction there. Culture is everything. And when you are trying to build a great company, it's very important that you build a great culture. So the main thing that we're looking for when we bring people in is trying to determine whether or not they are a good cultural fit. And basically what that means is, are they somebody who wants to improve themselves? Are they somebody who is growth minded? Are they somebody who is going to work hard? Are they somebody who welcomes change? Are they somebody who accepts personal responsibility? These are all core values, at our company. And obviously, we've been doing this a while, so I have a phenomenal team. I mean, I have an amazing team, and I have a strong group of leaders as well. So I'm not really involved in the hiring anymore, unless it was like executive or something. And
Right.
it's been a while since I had to bring any new executives on. But when you communicate to your leaders the vision and help them understand what the standard is, define to them objectively what success is, you give them the parameters to operate with under, and then you allow them to get the results in the best way they see fit.
Yeah.
So, the one of the questions you asked was, are there certain people that we don't allow in our company? And I'll tell you, we proudly employ convicted felons at Nutrition Solutions. I have some of my best people are convicted felons.
Wow.
Yeah. People who have been to prison, people who've had a history with substance abuse. Now, just a caveat to that, obviously, there are certain things that we would never consider, right? If anything having to do with hurting a kid or an animal, obviously that's a completely different thing.
Right.
But, what type of hypocrite would I be with my criminal record in my past
Right.
if I didn't give people opportunities? And, what I've actually learned, sometimes, if you give people the right structure, you introduce them into the right ecosystem, which our ecosystem is engineered around personal development. I mean, I pay the team to work out. They get free meals while they're on shift, so they're eating clean food throughout the day, right? They have access all day, every day to top shelf supplements. I mean, we are taking care of our team to the best of our ability to help them become the best version of themselves. And yeah, man, it's something. It's something that I do not to necessarily be a good person, but so I can win. Because as a company, the way you're going to win, I mean, it's the team.
Yeah.
The team. And anything I can do to contribute to my team getting stronger, getting better, getting more disciplined, right? Evolving their consciousness. I'm going to do that. And I enjoy doing that. I enjoy doing that because I'm pretty good at it. I have a lot of experience doing it, and being able to, mentor a lot of young men that work for Nutrition Solutions. Yeah, it's rewarding, man, and like I said, I'm very fortunate to have the team that I have.
Let's dig into some of those tactics. Can you pull up the Nutrition Solutions Instagram, Tyler? Yeah, so I find this awesome. I mean, you've got your people doing push-ups and cold plunges. Is there a certain rite of passage in the beginning when someone joins the company that they have to go through to be a part of the team?
Yeah, so as a man at Nutrition Solutions, if you can't do 50 push-ups, you're not going to work for us, period. Now, that doesn't mean they have to do 50 push-ups day one. Okay, that would be crazy. But because we literally pay them to work out twice a week, they're doing little mini workouts throughout the day. Like, we are literally giving them all of the tools, whether the structure for the workouts, the supplements, the actual nutrition, to help them become the strongest, fittest version of themselves. So if they are not making progress, then they're not going to be with us, period.
Yeah. So you've had people that have been with you for a few weeks. They're fucking around. They're not really trying. They're not doing, this is stupid, Chris. What are we doing?
Well, nobody would ever say that to me.
They wouldn't dare, right?
We don't see, so honestly, I don't see that or even hear about it. It doesn't really happen much anymore because I think our company has, been around for a bit of time, and we've developed a reputation, and we put everything online. So,
right.
If people are not fucking morons, they're going to do a little due diligence and understand what it is that they're getting into.
Right, yeah.
But it's not just about 50 push-ups. It's about progress. It's about setting a target and taking action to hit that target. Because the beautiful part about fitness is it gives you the firsthand understanding of what happens when you work hard, stay disciplined, and be consistent. When you work hard, stay consistent, and be disciplined, you're going to get results. And the cool part about that is that same process can be directed towards any other area of your life that you're looking to improve, whether it's a personal goal, financial goal, career, family, philanthropic endeavor. At the end of the day, I'm not looking for perfection from anybody, but I absolutely expect progress. I expect my team on an ongoing basis to improve, to get better, because we are providing all of the tools and the foundation and the system to facilitate that result. So if somebody isn't getting better, then, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what they're doing here, because at Nutrition Solutions, I believe that we are an institution of higher learning for the staff. It's not just a work environment. It's an institution of higher learning. Look, I got my team here. What's going on here? I got my team in ice baths, and they're having a protein donut eating contest. We just crushed a workout, and I thought, you know what? What can we do to add a little bit of sizzle to this day? And because whether it's push-ups, whether it's burpees, whether it's a mile run, or whether it's a donut eating contest in the ice bath, competition is prioritized at Nutrition Solutions. We try to create a competitive environment so people are constantly working to evolve and improve and move the proverbial needle.
I love it. And then the guy with the safety strap on, the neon strap, you mentioned that's what you wear when you're new at your company.
Yeah.
So, by the way, the guy in the background filming it, the new guy, he had a huge smile on his face. He was so excited to be there.
Yeah. So when you start at Nutrition Solutions, you are an FNG. You're not part of the team. You're an FNG. And FNG is an acronym. It stands for fucking new guy. It's a term that was coined in the military. And basically, working at Nutrition Solutions is a privilege. It is a privilege to work at Nutrition Solutions, and to become part of the team, it has to be earned. It's not given. So we put them through a process, and it could be between 90 to 120 days. And we are basically evaluating them to determine if they're a good cultural fit, to determine if they have the mental framework for the tasks that they will be essentially responsible for. And we're basically putting them through a lot of evolutions where we're assessing their ability to take pride in less than desirable tasks. And what are some of those things? Cleaning the bathrooms 3 times a day, right? Sweeping the parking lot, mopping puddles in the parking lot. Look, there's a puddle in the parking lot. That means there's some sort of dip or something, and that could prevent or cause a safety hazard. Some team member could roll their ankle. So we're doing this a little bit to, of course, fuck with them, but really we are just assessing their ability to take pride in the less than desirable tasks. Because one thing that I've learned is you can't do big things unless you become a master of the fucking universe at all the little things first. And the details matter. The details are what separate good from great. And, the military really drilled into my mind early on the importance of attention to detail. And, this is something I'm trying to do for my team as well.
Do you have people at your company that work for you that have transformed their own lives, that might have had a similar background to you, that were in trouble or that came from fucked up families and they've joined your company and they've gone through this?
Numerous.
Really?
But I'll tell you one quick story. We had a guy that came and worked for us. He moved from Alaska. He was using crystal meth, just a complete fuck up, homeless. Started working with us, weighed 310 pounds, okay? And within 15 weeks, he dropped 100 pounds.
Holy shit.
15 weeks. So basically, he came in and, was looking for a family.
Yeah.
Right. He had a falling out with his family. He, to the point where you're living on the street and using crystal meth, obviously. Fuck. Yeah, things aren't going super well. So we welcomed into our home, and he basically took advantage of the ecosystem that we have there between the workouts, the food, the coaching. At the time, he didn't have a vehicle, and he was riding his bike 9 miles, the beginning, I think the first 8 weeks, until he saved up enough to buy a car. He rode his bike to and from work 9 miles each way.
Fuck.
So he just got after it, and yeah, in that
lost 100 pounds, man.
Lost in 15 weeks and kept it off. That's the important thing.
How long has he been with you for?
A few years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good on you for taking that guy. There's a lot of companies that would look at that person and go, get out of here, man.
I look at it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
I look at it as,
well, that's what you do as a business too.
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to transform your customers' lives too.
Yeah. I mean, the way I think that we're going to continue to transform our customers' lives is by putting that dedicated effort into helping our team transform their lives.
Yeah.
I want my team to be just walking testament of what we do. I want our clients to have the peace of mind and the security and the confidence of knowing that the people who are preparing their meals, that are packaging their meals, that are, the client success representatives, that they are all on the same journey as they are. Because making a lifestyle change can be scary. It can be overwhelming. It can be daunting. If you've been out of shape your entire life, starting that process can be really, really overwhelming. And, we want our clients to know that if they run into any unexpected challenges along the way, that we're going to be there to face them with them. And they can have the confidence of knowing that we've done that before ourselves.
There's so much shit out there too, just in terms of like different meal plans, different workouts, different gurus online to follow. Look at some of these transformations. So can you scroll back up to the food?
Move it. You can, if you click on the.
Yeah. Look at that.
But these are 6-week transformations, 42
right,
days.
super quick.
42 days.
Look at her stomach. All that fat melted away.
Look at her face. I mean, that's a different person.
Yeah. Thrilled. And she did it, with confidence and the path being laid out for her by you guys. That's awesome. Can you scroll up to the food, Tyler? I want to talk about your food because it's very fascinating. You really don't do the standard like chicken and rice. You guys are very flavorful and
who likes to eat chicken and rice all day?
Just those crazy bodybuilder types, I guess. So you're gearing it towards ease of use, like flavor.
We're gearing it towards variety. Right? Because variety is important, right? As it relates to variety, talking about using different protein superfoods, different vegetables, different complex carbohydrate sources, because the more variety that you have in your diet, the more micronutrients you're taking in, which means the more health and wellness, longevity benefits you're going to experience. As far as the, not doing just chicken and rice, I mean, I think the number one thing that people need to have present in their diet in order to be able to stay consistent long enough to get actual results is they need to actually enjoy the food that they're eating.
Right.
If your diet is stressful, if it's a chore, if it's a hassle, if you dread eating that meal or you feel you have to choke it down because it's bland and it's gross and you're eating the same fucking thing over and over again.
Yeah, how long are you going to last?
Not very long. Not very long. We see that 95% of people who start a diet fail. It's pathetic. It's embarrassing, right? I mean, we look around, 3/4 of the adult population are overweight, 40% are obese. We have a problem in this country, and it's been on a skyrocket trajectory the last 50 years. And the food in this country is a problem.
It is. Has that become something very important to you as you've grown your company and got outside of, holy shit, I need to fix myself? Like I would imagine when you first decided to change your life, you were very inward focused. Like you have a lot of books to read and you have a lot of personal development to accomplish and to learn. Now for you, is that higher purpose, like changing the way America eats?
I found that the best way to change the world is just one person at a time, and that's really all I try to focus on. And if one person benefits, if one person's life has changed for me, it's worth it. Anything more than that is, I'm grateful for. But I'm not trying to make it my mission to change whatever
world.
America, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much I want somebody to change or how much somebody actually does need to change. Unless that person actually wants to change for themselves, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're providing a solution that makes the process of getting in the best shape of your life effortless. No stress. You don't have to cook. You don't have to shop. You don't have to calculate macros. There's no mountain of dirty dishes in the sink after the fact. All you have to do is eat the food that you're providing, and provided you do that, you will get results. And what results am I talking about? You will see a reduction in body fat and an increase in lean muscle. Our meals are high protein and nutrient dense. Over the last few years, we've, put, and we're always looking to improve. As I said earlier, being the best is important to me. And if you're going to be the best, that means your best has to continuously get better. On an ongoing basis, your best needs to continuously get better. So we incorporated things like filet mignon,
Yeah.
elk, venison, bison, liver, bone marrow, even. Yeah. And just always looking for ways to step things up. A lot of people don't realize this. You had mentioned chicken and rice, and that's what most people associate with dieting. Mm-hmm. But chicken isn't actually the cleanest protein. When we talk about like what constitutes a clean protein or a healthy protein, it's nutrient density. It's not calories, it's nutrient density. Grass-fed, grass-finished beef has just as much protein as chicken, but a plethora of extra micronutrients and omega-3 fatty acids, things that are advantageous for health, wellness, and longevity. So when people think in terms of, eating healthy, it's important that you realize that, eating healthy isn't just trying to eat as little as possible. It's not trying to eat the same boring things all the time, because that simply is not sustainable. We mentioned at the beginning of this that human beings have a innate need for variety. And I think that is probably best displayed with the diet, because I don't care how good something is, you're not going to eat it all day, every day,
Right.
And not eventually get tired of it.
Exactly. And are you doing your own research or experimenting on yourself with
Always.
bone marrow and shit
Exactly.
like that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. Anytime that we incorporate something new to the menu, it's something that I have tried and been utilizing for several months, and I get my blood work done quarterly.
Wow.
And I'm measuring, and I'm seeing what, and once we started incorporating, you mentioned bone marrow. Once we started incorporating liver and bone marrow onto the menu, my markers in my blood work started to improve dramatically.
Wow.
Which was not really a surprise, right? Because liver is the single most nutrient dense food on the planet. It's got all kinds of amazing things in it: vitamin A, retinol, which is fantastic for skin, as well as youthful hormone optimization. There's a lot of things in liver that you just will not find anywhere else.
A lot of people think it's gross, though. How do you get past that?
Awesome question. And those people are right. Liver is gross. I personally don't like liver. So what we do is we basically cook it, we grind it, and then we infuse it into our grass-finished beef.
Okay.
Grass-fed, grass-finished beef. Yeah. So that way, our clients are able to, receive the health benefit, but not have to deal with the unpleasant aftertaste.
And then do you do the same thing with bone marrow? Infuse that into the beef or whatever else?
Yeah. So we have a bone marrow grass-fed butter that we provide. And we have bone marrow that we also infuse into rice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you have a full menu up on your website, or do you guys switch it up?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So as I mentioned, the key to sustainability with the diet, whether it's with the nutrition solutions or anything else, is variety. We have a 12-week rotating menu, so the menu changes every week. And yeah, I think this might be like
this is this week's
current
menu.
Yeah.
So mesquite smoked turkey burger, Cajun blackened chicken, sweet and sour chicken tenders, venison. Wow.
Yep.
What other meal plan is offering venison? That's awesome. Pepper mustard filet mignon. Sounds great.
Look at those ingredients in the pepper mustard filet mignon.
Yeah, so you've got certified Angus beef, filet tips, bone marrow, butter, mashed potatoes, roasted zucchini, and mustard pepper sauce.
Yeah.
Pretty far away from rice and chicken, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So your whole thing is the consistency. You don't want people to quit. And in order to do that, the idea is
Well, I don't care
variety.
I don't care if people quit. If people want to quit, that's cool, because in order for us to be winners, we need losers. So my purpose is to help people who want to win actually facilitate that result. I'm not here to tell people what they should do or how they should do it. People come to me. If they're coming to me and they're looking for guidance, I'm going to give it to them. But at the end of the day, what people want to do is ultimately up to them.
Yeah. And if they quit, that's on them too. You mentioned before the podcast you're going to be doing a bit of expansion. Can we talk about that on the show?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so right now you're kind of up in the Ybor City area with how many square feet is your facility?
Man, I think 8,000 or so.
8,000 currently. Yeah. And then you mentioned the new one you're building is like 5 times the
Yeah.
size.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
It's huge.
So talk about that.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's probably going to be about 5 or 6 months before we're operating out of there, because there's a significant amount of build out that has to happen to get it ready. But yeah, it's going to give us the ability to expand our operation, to serve more clients, to help people, to help more people, and just to continue doing what we're doing at scale. We factually outgrew our current facility probably 2 years ago. But like I said, I have a great team, and we've been just figuring out how to make it work, adapt and overcome, being creative and doing what you need to do. I mean, because at the end of the day, there's always something that you can do. There's always something that can be done to get the intended result. It might be a bit inconvenient. It might take a lot longer than you would otherwise like it to. But at the end of the day, if having a quality product and a quality brand is something that's important to you, you do what you have to do to survive.
Yeah. People have always done more with less. Anyone around the world. I mean, and the fact that you guys are expanding from a business perspective, sounds like you felt for a while that you needed to expand, but you've just been figuring it out. This sounds like a massive investment too, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 times the size with a build out. This is.
Yeah. Our rent is going to be, it's like 4 times as much as it is now. So
plus build out.
Yeah, the build out. That's a whole other thing, but it's all good. It's an investment.
That's amazing. And then under this new HQ, you're cooking the food, you're packing the food, you're distributing the food.
The same as we do at our current headquarters.
Yeah. Can you talk about your operations real quick? Like, do you have a chef or how do you cook so much food in one spot?
Yeah. Well, I have a team of fitness chefs.
Wow.
I have a team of fitness chefs. I have my director of cultural innovation is basically the operations manager. That's what, a normal company would call his position, but we're unique, and he has a very unique skill set. So I created that title just for him. Have a logistics team that basically they're the ones who are responsible for packing each client's individual order to the exact specifications, doing the quality assurance check, making sure that each order is packed with enough dry ice strategically to arrive safely. We ship everything overnight, which massively cuts into our profit margins, as you can imagine. But having, high standards and prioritizing food safety,
can't slack on that.
Not doing that, you wouldn't be consistent with that. So.
No. Well, this has been amazing, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. This has been a really cool conversation. Tell people kind of where to find you, Instagram, follow along, website, all that sort of stuff.
Chris Cavallini, Cavallini, across all social media platforms in the company. Like we said, it's called Nutrition Solutions. And if you're looking to unfat yourself or look better naked, check out the website, nutritionsolutions.com.
Check it out, people. Order some good food. I haven't ever heard of a meal prep company going as far as you have in terms of variety and also implementing organs. I mean, I haven't seen that before. Very interesting.
That's because you haven't seen it because it hasn't happened.
Yeah. You guys are pioneers in that way.
We're trying to be pioneers in a lot of ways.
It's fucking awesome, man.
Thank you, man.
All right. I appreciate you doing the show. All righty. Bye, everybody. Thank you guys for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like it. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. Give us a comment. Give us some feedback. We want to know how we're doing. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.